What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to improve the sound in your car. So I feel like this is something that's a little overlooked in the off-roading community, but it's something that drives me crazy. If I hear anything rattling around, any vibrations, I have the JBL sound package in my 2016 TRD off-road. So when the bass hits, all these things were rattling around in the past. I fixed all those issues and I'm going to walk you through it, but it was something that drove me insane. There's a few things that I haven't done just yet that I'm going to go over with you today. One of them being some sound deadening material that I'm going to put in. So you're going to get to see how that's installed. It's not going to be a full install video, but I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks on how to make it easier for that install. And yeah, we're going to go over some things that you can do to make the sound in your car way better. So the first things I'm going to talk about here are the easiest, quickest, and cheapest ways to improve the sound quality of the drive. So I'm going to go over some gaskets that we have here. The first one that I'm going to talk about is this D-shaped gasket or weather stripping that you put in your door jamb here. So I was having some issues. I don't know if anybody else has had this issue, but at high speeds or if there's like a crazy crosswind, there's like a whistling noise that comes from this area of the Tacoma. I have a 2016 TRD off-road, so it was like a super annoying thing, especially on road trips. You would just hear this constant like that's literally what it sounded like. So the first solution that I came up with after looking on some different forums was putting this silicone caulking around the driver's side mirror, and that helped a little bit, but it was still making that noise. So the next thing that I did was I put in this weather stripping here, and what that's doing is basically, you'll know if this is your issue, is if you ever hear that noise and you just push firmly. Let me see if I can close this. If you actually push right here on your mirror and it stops that noise, then I think doing this D gasket will solve that issue, because it did for me. So all you have to do is essentially take some rubbing alcohol, wipe wherever you're going to attach it, and then you just stick it on. Super easy, super cheap. One thing to note though is it does make the door slightly more difficult to shut, which I think is actually a good thing, because it doesn't sound like, if you slam your door, it doesn't sound as nearly rough as it does without that. And then the other thing to make note of is, so I cut it to about here on this side and that side. I thought that I just wanted some uniformity, so I did it on both sides. But we got some heavy rains the past couple days, and I was parked outside, and then when I came in my truck, there was a bunch of water that got in here. And that's because this gasket is preventing this from creating a smooth seal right here. So I didn't get any water up front. It was just in the back on both sides. And so I bought a second strip, and I'm gonna put it the rest of the way here so that doesn't happen anymore. So if you do end up doing this mod, I would recommend buying 2 of these and doing 1 on each side. I think you'll have a little extra on each side, but I would rather have a continuous strip all the way than now I'm gonna have a cut piece here, I'm gonna do another one and then cut it and do that to both sides. It'll just be easier if you just do 1 on each side. So the next thing I'm going to talk about are these 2 gaskets, or weather stripping, or whatever you want to call it. So this first larger one is only if you have a roof rack. So I have a Prinsu roof rack up top, and so all this does, this larger one, if you can see from the side here, this clips on the wind fairing of the Prinsu. So I'll kind of show you up here. So if you look up here, this is that gasket all along here. So basically it just eliminates the gap from the body of your truck and the Prinsu. So think about it, it's kind of a super narrow space for wind to get into, and it can sometimes create like a whistling noise. So that totally eliminates that. And then this smaller one is for these guys up here. So I kind of peeled this one out so you could see it. But essentially I just did it on the front of each of these cross members. And so same type of premise, is wind is coming in this way and it's going to hit that channel and create a whistling noise. So that kind of reduces the wind noise if you have a roof rack. So the gasket up front in tandem with these guys definitely reduce the wind noise coming from the roof rack. So I would say at the very least get this front one, because that definitely is a significant difference, and you know, then somewhat those other ones up top. So another gasket we're going to take a look at is this weather stripping that goes along. So this is really only if you have a bed cover. So I have a Diamondback bed cover, HD. So this weather gasket, the Diamondback does an excellent job by itself with the weather stripping that it has, that it comes with. So it creates a excellent seal all along the bed of the truck. So I haven't had too many issues as far as water getting in there, but I did notice that there would be a slight amount of dust that would accumulate over time back here. So I figured I would, you know, do what I could to get it as airtight as possible, and this kind of solved that issue. So with this weather stripping, it's kind of a little more difficult than the other ones, but you know, nothing that you can't do at home. All you have to do is, the kit comes with everything that you're going to need, and you just have to essentially, from this little rubber stop, you know, measure from here up to the top, and then, you know, from here down to the bottom. And so you want to get it as far down as you can, and then you're also going to run it all along the bottom here, and then up the side as well. So I almost have it virtually airtight. The only exception is down, I don't know, down in here there's like a slight amount of light that I can see, and it's right where this corner meets this one. I played around with it for a little while to try to, you know, get it totally airtight, but it became more annoying than anything to try to do it, so I figured this would be sufficient. And so far I've had, you know, no issues of dust or water getting in there at all. So I'd say it's definitely worthwhile, and it's, you know, pretty quick and easy to do. So the last gasket that I'll talk about is where your rear light is. So I got a recall notice from Toyota that they replaced this rear lamp gasket. I've seen videos on YouTube where people do it themselves. It requires you to remove the headliner. You have to do that by coming in here. You undo these things. It allows you to have just enough clearance to pull this headliner down, and then access the screws where that lamp is at, and then you unscrew the lamp, install the new gasket, and do all that. It doesn't look super difficult, but Toyota sent me a recall notice. I took it in, they did it for free. So if your Toyota is still under warranty, I would recommend just doing that. So that's definitely, apparently there can be, you know, water that gets in there over time, like the gasket breaks down over time, and water will seep into the cab of the truck, which obviously you don't want. So that's another waterproofing gasket type thing that I could talk about today. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and kind of, because those other two were like easy installs, I don't really need to show you how to do that. The last thing is going to be this Siless or Siless. There's a few different brands like Noiko, Dynamat I think is one. I just went with this brand because it's cheaper, it had good reviews, and then I just stuck with, you know, brand consistency, getting, you know, both of these in the same brand. But this is the Sound Deadener, which is that like peel and stick foil material, and you have to like roll it out. And then this is just like a foam mat. So I wanted to go with both, just so I could get the best possible results. And also, I live in Arizona. It gets super hot. So I'm hoping that this will prevent my car from getting so hot on the inside, and it'll also cool off a lot quicker when I turn the AC on. So I'll kind of show you just on this first door here, the passenger door, and then you can get an idea of how long it's going to take and how much work is required. But like I said, not going to be a full install video. I'll just show you this one door, and then I'll show you the final results and let you know what I think. So let's get to it. Alright, I got distracted with some stuff here at the house, so it's now nighttime. Just had to set up some lights to give you a good view of everything here. But like I said, this isn't going to be a full install. It's just going to be a quick little tutorial on how to do this. So you got a little rivet here, push that guy in. You got another little guy here. That's when these little pry tools come in handy. So I'm doing this all one-handed, so please be patient here. So you got this guy pops out, super easy. Next you're going to unscrew this little screw in here. And good practice is always have a little dish here, keep all your screws and stuff. So next thing, which is kind of nerve-wracking to some people, but really isn't an issue, is you're going to come in this little channel here and just pry up. So it's a good idea to use a nylon pry tool because you'll definitely scratch your plastic if you don't. So if I can get it in here, I'm going to get a thinner one. So you're just going to pry this guy up here. Start from this end and then work your way up towards the front. Just pop that guy up. And as you can see, I have some silicone stuff on here from a previous thing I was doing, but I'm going to clean that up. Then you just unhook these wiring harnesses, and then you'll set this to the side here. And then next inside of here is pull these little felt things out, and there's just a screw in here. You want to unscrew this. Put that screw, put it in my bin. Alright, so I'm going to scoot you back here. And then next, all you're going to want to do is, it seems kind of sketch a little bit, but you just grab on this panel and you kind of just give it a yank. Oh, forgot this guy. I'm going to pull that off. And then this thing just lifts right up. So next, if you look back here, there's these little ball bearing things. They just lift right out. So that just comes right off. There's a little bit of lube on there. You don't want to wipe that off because it needs the lubricant. And then the whole panel's off. So next, what you're gonna want to do is unscrew these. This is a 10mm socket. So this is for the speaker. So we'll just get this guy off. Here's some fireworks going off, since tomorrow's the 4th. Once you get that off, then you're just going to unclip this wiring harness, and then the whole speaker just kind of peels off. We'll set that to the side. And then the last thing, well, I guess second to last thing, is we're going to pull this wiring harness off, and then it's clipped on this other little clip here that you want to slip out. If I can do it. That just slips off there. And then we're going to take this whole plastic thing off of here. So there's like a adhesive that's on here, and you just peel it off. It's not a big deal. And then you'll use it later to stick back on. And then you just feed all the wiring and everything through. There's little slits in this plastic that you feed the wiring harnesses through. I'm fortunate that it's nice and hot. I think it's like 95 degrees right now, and it's 8:30. So that makes this adhesive come off super easily. And then there's also a couple screws right here on this bracket. And so what this bracket is this is where the little grip for when you close the door, that screw, it screws into this piece. So we'll just get this unscrewed. So we'll get this all peeled off, get these harnesses through. Alright, then we're just going to set this to the side. Alright, so the next thing is going to be, we'll get these little, I don't know, I think these are for insulation and like sound deadening as well that go in these things. So we'll take this off, set this over here. The next thing is we're going to clean up everything. So I'm going to take some all-purpose cleaner, clean this whole thing inside and out, and then wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol. And I forgot to mention, this piece also just pops out. There's a couple little clips on here. You just pull it right off, and then you have access to the whole area. So now that everything's all cleaned, alcohol rubbed on everything, you're just going to start putting this stuff on. So it just peels off and sticks on. A good idea is to kind of get it in here first and see exactly where you want it to be, and then cut it to size. So I just took a tape measure and kind of measured some of the spots in here. It's kind of annoying just because if you see right here, this spot is horizontal, but then this is angled up. So as it moves down this rail, it gets bigger and bigger. So you can't just cut, a long rectangle and slap it in there. You kind of have to finesse it a little bit. So yeah, I'll just start sticking it in here, and I'll show you the final results here. So I'm partway through the install here, and I just wanted to point out a couple things to make it a little bit easier. First thing is definitely wear a glove. There's a ton of sharp metal on the door, and then this foil itself is actually jagged as well when you cut it. So just a little safety precaution there. Another thing is when you're putting it down at the edges, this thing makes it a lot easier to really get the edges adhered properly, and you can tuck it down behind places that you wouldn't normally be able to reach. And then the last thing to note is I'll pull this up here. When you're measuring, on the back side it has this grid that makes it easy to measure everything out. And then also another little trick is if you take an X-Acto knife, and you can cut slits in the paper backing every so often, and then you peel off a piece, you adhere some to the truck, and then make your way, and then you can peel off the backing piece by piece instead of in one giant sheet. That's something that I noticed that made it easier, so it might help you out. And then last thing is just use as large a pieces as possible, because one, it prevents you from wasting any, and two, it just makes it go by way quicker. So a couple little tricks to help you out there. Alright, so here's the final product. I pretty much just did the entire of the interior as best I could, and then I did two sheets of that thermal layer. So I did one top section, middle section, and lower section. I didn't want to do the whole thing in that thermal layer just because I'm trying to save some of it for the headliner, and I wanted to make sure I had enough to do the whole headliner. And then you can see on the outside here, I just did the larger areas with some of the scrap that I had. You can spend as much time as you want, covering the entire door. The more the better. That was about all the patience that I had to do, and I think it turned out pretty good. So I'm gonna throw it all back together, basically just disassemble it in the opposite way that you, how should I say this? Reassemble it in the opposite way that you assembled it. So I'm gonna throw that back together and then show you the final product. So another thing I wanted to mention as well is getting some of this window weld ribbon sealer. And so what you want to do is, while you have the door panel off, you kind of look at all of these little clip points. So all around there's all these clips. So you want to take some of this window weld ribbon sealer and wrap it around the best you can around every single one of these clips, and that'll also prevent, I have the JBL sound package in my Tacoma, and so it has a decent amount of bass, and anytime that bass hits, these little clips and any little pins or anything like that rattles. So I noticed that I did this a couple years ago actually, and it significantly helped with any of the rattling noises. So another thing you can also do, I'm not going to take the time to do it, to be honest, but you can take the sound deadener over there and you can put it on every surface that you see. So the more, the better. I don't really have the patience to do that right now, but it will improve the sound quality if you just cover your door as best as possible with as much as you can. I'm not doing that right now just because I'm also doing my headliner, and I'm eventually going to do the floor as well. So I'm going to just strip everything out of the truck. So I want to save as much of this stuff as I can, and I think this will be more than sufficient to get the results that I want. But the more the merrier. You can go all out. If you don't want to do the headliner and the floorboards and all that stuff, just get yourself a pack of this and a pack of that thermal insulator and just cover your doors. And I think it'll do pretty well for you if you take the time to do all that. All right, guys, got the final results here. So this back door hasn't been done yet, so this is what that sounds like. And then two front doors I've already done, so let's hear that. So it definitely sounds way better, sounds much more dead up front than it does back here, especially if you go like this. So it's definitely worthwhile. It takes some time. I've only done the two front doors. I still need to do the two back doors. And then I'm also going to do the headliner and the floors eventually. We'll see how I feel about it, how much work it takes. I'm definitely going to do the headliner first because I have some freaking annoying, like when I'm driving, there's some vibration like right here that is driving me insane. So I'm going to try to take a look at fixing that when I do sound dead in the headliner. But first things first, I'm going to do the back two doors, and then I'll make another video on the headliner. I'm kind of scared about doing the headliner just because it is like a fiberglass piece of material, and it seems pretty difficult trying to take out. So I might just lower it down and then, you know, do the best I can and then raise it back up. I've seen videos on people taking the whole thing out, but you kind of have to fold it in half. I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that, but we'll see when we get there. So yeah, I'll wrap it up here. So I forgot to mention it when I reassembled the door, but if you look right here, I installed this little adhesive back foam. Let me see if I can get this to focus here. There we go. So it's a adhesive back piece of foam from left over from something that I had that I slipped in here. So when the bass hits, or if you're on a super bumpy road, this switch will rattle and it drives me insane. It may not you, but it does me. But I did that to all the switches in the truck, and it really may not seem like that big of a deal, but all of these little things added up will make a huge difference in the ride quality that you have. So the least amount of things that you have rattling around, the least amount of wind noise that you can have, the better. Especially on a long road trip, you will definitely be thankful that you did all this stuff. So do all the switches, do every clip on all the doors. And last thing is, don't have a bunch of stuff just crammed in here, rattling around, making a bunch of noise. I have a bunch of stuff in my truck, but I have it strategically placed to where it's not bouncing around. So like if you look in here, I have this little Magpul glasses case. I put a bandana there, which I like to have in my truck, so this thing won't, you know, be bouncing around. And same with these like extra batteries. I have everything tucked in nice and neat, so it's not, you know, jostling around when I'm driving. So if you do all of these little tricks, you won't hear any rattle whatsoever, and you'll be happy, especially when you go on a long road trip. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video. Like I said, all the stuff that you saw in the video today will be in the description box below. And if you have any comments, suggestions, concerns, feel free to leave a comment. I'm definitely open to any suggestions. If there's anything that I didn't think of that you can improve this ride quality or the sound of the Tacoma, definitely open to hearing about that. And then if you had any questions about the install, or if you just want to, you know, make a comment about my video sucks or whatever, you can let me know in the comment box, and I'm definitely open to any suggestions for the future. So yeah, till next time, guys, have a good one.